Welcome along to another edition of the West Cork League podcast with me, your host, Ger McCarthy. You can follow me on Twitter at Ger McCarthy74. It's been another hectic week, to put it mildly, in the West Cork League, with loads of goals flying in, both in the O'Brien Water Services Championship and also, of course, in the Premier Division as well. We're going to go through all the games and the ramifications and how it affects the league table. And before we start, I just want to introduce my partner in crime. He's back again this week. And that is the PRO of the West Cork League, Mike Helen. Mike, how are you?
How are we doing?
Another hectic week and lots to talk about.
Yeah, a lot of goals in both the Premier Division and the O'Brien Water Services. So, yeah, it was a very interesting weekend of soccer.
It was indeed. And let's start at the top at the PremierHighSpecCars.com Premier Division from the results from Sunday the 29th of September. I'll just quickly go through the results. Drina Rangers 4, Clonakilty Town 0. Doris 1, Ballyhob 5, and Lyre Rovers 4, Bunratty United 1. Only one place to start, Mike, and that was the top of the table clash between Drina and Clonakilty Town at Cannon Crawley Park. And it looks like Don Hurley and the Drina team are back on track.
Yeah, of course, yeah. It was a big win, 4-0 win. Fairly comprehensive win now for the Drina Rangers guys. I suppose we were talking in our last podcast about not being able to call it. I think you actually backed Trina and I backed the draw, so I'd hold my hands up there saying I was completely wrong in that one. But yeah, I suppose, was this the first test for Clontown? I don't know. Like Tor Celtic were a big test for them also, but it just shows what Drina Rangers are about this year, Ger. 4-0 at home against a big, strong Clontown team. They're after showing their mark now, and they're they won five titles there 2 seasons ago. Missed out on a lot of trophies last year, so I'd say they're going to set it right this year. And what way to do it in big Clontown 4-0 at home.
And that's the thing. Declan Deasy and Don Hurley will be the first to admit that they hadn't really been playing well at all in the opening couple of weeks, Trina. It sounds like they strung a proper 90 minutes together here, and 3 different scores as well, bodes well with them moving to the top of the table.
Yeah, and we spoke about how they grinded out the result over in Tor Celtic last week as well. And they probably played a pivotal role in this game as well. They had confidence were up coming away from Tor Celtic with a win. And having a home fixture, they obviously had their homework done on Clontown, and Drina Rangers are the team to beat this year. They're the team to beat every year, really. But 4-0 was a massive result for them, and Don and Declan will be very, very happy with that result.
No, it's only Clontown's first loss of the season. They're still level on points with Drina at the top, albeit with a game extra played. But it's not the end of the world for John Leahy and a very talented squad. Absolutely not, no. And
a lot of people were talking that they were the favourites for the league, but I suppose we have to remember Clontown were in a relegation battle last season, so it's very hard just to turn it around like that. It's probably a brilliant learning lesson for the Clontown players. There's a lot of new players in Clontown this year, and that'll be a valuable lesson for them. And you know what? It could have been the best thing that happened to Clontown. They'll probably refocus now and recircle the wagons for Doris next week, and they'll know all about it, what it takes to win a league, and Drina after letting them know exactly what they're about, and as I said, it's not the end of the world for Clontown. They'll rally the troops again, and they'll go to Doris next week. They'll be hard beaten.
Indeed, they will. And speaking of Doris, obviously Drina's win over Clontown to join them at the top of the table was the big headline from this past week. But the result probably that stood out the most for me was Ballyhob winning 5-1 down in Doris. Now, that included a Mark Cronin hat-trick, and it also means that Ballyhob, along with Drina, are the only 2 remaining undefeated teams in the PremierHighSpecCars.com Premier Division. A fantastic win for your old club, Mike.
Yeah, big win for Ballyhob. How we describe this game, I suppose, with the 5-1 scoreline. Doris were very competitive throughout the whole game. If you're looking at the 5-1, it looks like a hammering, but they were very competitive throughout the whole game. I think the difference between the two sides were, I'd say, but just a small bit more organised around the back line, and then when you have Mark Cronin banging in goals left, right and centre, he's a very tough man to mark, as the whole West Cork team, or the West Cork League, knows about Mark Cronin. So the difference was, I just say, we're better kind of set up in the defence with Tim Regan there inside the midfield. He was had an unbelievable game, and with Mark scoring 3, we're always going to be hard to stop there. But with Doris gets their players back, they're going to be very tough to play at home, and they'll take a lot of points off teams at home when they have their full strength team.
Indeed they will, and we look forward to seeing plenty more from Doris, but keep an eye on that Ballyhob team. Even though Mike will talk them down, I think they're on the rise and be very interesting to track their progress over the coming week. Mark Cronin with the hat-trick, Ryan O'Neill and Dermot O'Donoghue also getting on the score sheet, and Brian O'Donovan replying for Doris. The other big game in the Premier Division last week was between two teams at the bottom end of the table, each looking for their first win, and it was Lyre Rovers who came out on top, winning 4-1 at home to Bunratty United and jumping from second from bottom up into fourth place. Huge morale boosting win for Tom Barry and Lyre.
And what an important win that was for Lyre. As I said last week, it was a must win for Bunratty, but it was also a must win for Lyre Rovers, and that'll get their confidence up now. They've got a couple of players back now with Ballinascarthy GA and Clan GA finishing. So, they're back on track. They're out again on Wednesday night against Ballyhob. So, yeah, a massive win for Lyre. On the Bunratty side, as we keep saying about Bunratty, they're a very, very young side. Their learning curve is going to be steep in the Premier Division this year. But they'll keep going, and they'll keep competing away this season. But big win for Lyre, and it'll be interesting to see how Lyre get on now with some of their players back.
Indeed it will. That should be a cracking game actually on Wednesday night between Lyre and Ballyhob under floodlights in Knockshcar. Let's take a quick check on the Premier HighSpecCars.com Premier Division League table following the latest round of matches. Drina Rangers have joined Clonakilty Town at the top of the table. They're on 10 points each, but Drina have a game less played. Up into third place go Ballyhob with 7 points, and they have only 3 games played. Lyre Rovers and Doris are on 4 points, Toher on 3, as are Dunmanway Town, and Bunratty United still awaiting their first points of the season. Well, if there was excitement in the Premier HighSpecCars.com Premier Division, I'm not quite sure the word to describe what went on last weekend in the O'Brien Water Services Championship, Mike, because no game had less than 3 goals. Goals flying in left, right and centre. As a former defender, it's very hard to be excited about it. But let's start on the Saturday, because on Saturday afternoon, Kilbrittain Rovers hosted Spartak Musgrove. 2 teams really, really going very, very well. And it was Spartak Musgrove who came out on top to maintain the only undefeated league record in the O'Brien Water Services Championship. Yeah,
Spartak showing their power there now. Rory Keller with 2. Ty Ryan on the score sheet again. I think he's 4 in total. So look, they went away over to Kilbrittain. I know Kilbrittain had a game midweek against UCC also, so they could have been a little bit fatigued, but massive win for Spartak Musgrove. They're showing their strength. They still have players missing, as we said last week. So they're showing that they're the main guys down in the championship. They'll be hard beaten. We'll talk about the fixtures next week. They're going up to Salan, which is going to be an interesting one, but they look like the real deal.
They certainly do, and 4 wins and a draw out of their 5 matches is some going. But in second place, you mentioned Salan there, and what a result for them at home to previously undefeated Riverside Athletic. 6-3 to Salan in that game. That's a first loss for Riverside and a win that pushed Salan up into third place and into the promotion hunt.
Yeah, as I said, I think they'll get a lot of points at home. They're a big physical side up in Salan, and that was a massive win. That was a great win. Like, remember, we weren't even sure Salan were going to have a team this year, and they got a team together later on in just before the season started, and they're obviously well organised up there. To beat Riverside Athletic 6-3, to put 6 past them, that's a huge statement. And if they pick up another couple of wins, who's to say that they won't be in the promotion phase?
Could that be a crucial loss at the end of the season for Riverside?
Could be, yeah, it could be. I think if Riverside beat Salan above in Salan, I couldn't see anyone really challenging Spartak and Riverside, especially after Spartak beating Kilbrittain away 4-0. So do you know what? Now Salan are after putting a spanner in the works now for Riverside, because if Salan pull a point or even 3 points from Spartak at home, Riverside could dip. So it's a massive result for Salan. Huge.
Indeed it was. Trevor Healy with 2, Michael Desmond with 2, Chris Desmond and Aid Keane also getting on the score sheet, while 2 from Billy O'Brien and Jake Draper also replying for Riverside. We are talking about teams coming up on the outside that we may not have talked about as potential promotion candidates. If that's the case, we have to add Dunmanway Town B to the mix, because they came through a 7-goal thriller with Ulta at home winning 4-3, and that result has moved Dunmanway up into joint third place, alongside Salan. A big win for Dunmanway, Mike, and all of a sudden they're looking up rather than looking down.
Unbelievable results, yeah. Like I didn't see this coming from Dunmanway B, and they've a lot of good players in Dunmanway B. If you go through the team, they've got a couple of young fellas and a couple of old fellas, so they've got a good blend. But 4-3, that was a local derby there, and I think Alta went up 2-0 at one stage, and they went in half time 2-1 up. So there was a hat trick there from David Ring to go 3-2 up, and I think Celtic got a penalty towards the end. One thing to note there as well, Dunmanway B had a very, very young keeper inside. I think he was a 15-year-old keeper, which is unbelievable to be playing junior football. So it's a credit to Dunmanway B, and football's flying it over in Dunmanway at the moment. Like, you've got the main team, Dunmanway, they're the champions. Dunmanway B are going very well. All the Celtic are going well as well, and then of course you have the Beamish Cup champions to our Celtic, so soccer's very strong over in that area.
It always has been. It's good to see it. And just on that 15-year-old goalkeeper, Barry O'Sullivan was the guy in goal for Dunmanway B last weekend, and he saved the penalty. And this is a club that produced an Irish international goalkeeper in Aaron Mannix, and who's to say we won't be talking about Barry O'Sullivan possibly in years to come. But a big, big win for Dunmanway Town B there at home to their local rivals. Elsewhere in the O'Brien Water Services Championship, a big win as well for Drina Rangers B, who travelled to the Baltimore Road and put 5 past Skibbereen, including a Colin McCarthy hat-trick.
Yeah, I think that was one of the biggest surprises for me this week. I fully expected Skibbereen to come away with the 3 points, and it was if Skibbereen got the 3 points there, their confidence would have been up, and they would have been creeping way up the table. So it's a bad loss for Skibbereen, but it's a massive win for Drina B. 5 goals away in any pitch is a great achievement. So fair play to Drina B. They're motoring away, but Skibbereen now confidence will be down after that, so they'll have to pick themselves up after that loss.
And speaking of confidence down, probably the most surprising result of the weekend for me, Mike, I don't know about you, was the 4-4 draw between Mizzen, high-flying Mizzen, and Castletown Celtic, who are still marooned at the bottom of the table, but only picking up their second draw of the season. But if you're going to Mizzen, I know Jack O'Callaghan got a hat-trick, and Aaron Draper also scored for him on that occasion. That's almost like a win for Castletown. I know it's not 3 points, but if you can go to Mizzen and hold such a good team to a 4-4 draw, you won't be at the bottom of the table for too much longer.
Yeah, well, we spoke about it last week, that it's only a matter of time until Castletown Celtic get the first win. And once they do, their confidence will probably increase and they'll motor on. But I think Castletown Celtic won't be happy with the point in Mizzen, because the fact was they were up 4-1 at one stage, and Mizzen came back with 3 goals to level it 4-4. So they probably will be leaving Mizzen. They probably left Mizzen yesterday thinking it was 3 points lost, which is probably true. But Mizzen are very relentless. They're a tough team. They never die over there. It's probably a better point for Mizzen than it is for Castletown, seeming to are 4-1 up.
Yeah, so just a mad weekend really of results and goals flying in all over the place in the O'Brien Water Services.com Championship. Let's have a quick check of the league table before we move on. And after the fifth round of matches there, Spartak Mosgrove remain top of the table on 13 points from their 5 games played. Riverside's first loss of the season sees them drop to second on 12. Then you've got Salan and Dunmanway Town B, the big winners from last weekend, moving into joint third place on 8 points each, followed by a clutch of clubs separated by 2 points. You've Kilbrittain, Mizzen, Drina B, Ulta and Skibbereen and Baltimore, while Castleac and Castletown Celtic bring up the rear. Now, also last weekend, as well as all the league action, we had our first Munster Junior Cup round of games involving West Cork League clubs. Now, unfortunately, Mike, as you alluded to earlier on, Kilbrittain Rovers were drawn a very tough tie away to UCC United 2 Wednesdays ago, and that was a tough 5-0 loss for them, but a good experience nonetheless.
Yeah, and it was probably better than a training session really coming in for the Spartak Mosgrove game. Spartak Mosgrove was probably in their mind going up there, watching players, hoping players weren't getting injured because it was such a big game for them on a Saturday against Bartek. But yeah, it was it was always going to be a tough task to go up to the Mardyke and play a good UCC United team. They're very competitive in the Business League. I think they finished third in the Business League behind Doolan's Cow and Satellite Taxis last season. So it was always a big task. But fair play to them, they went out there and they challenged it, and that's all you can ask,
Yeah, and you mentioned Doolan's Co there on Saturday. They ended Castleack's interest in the competition at the first time of asking. Kevin Finn scored for the West Cork League club, but unfortunately they lost out 6-1 to a very, very good Doolan's Co team who had a hat-trick from James Cotter, 2 from Jamie Murphy and 1 from Stephen McCarthy. Similar to Kilbrittain, Mike, I guess. Look, Castleack, it's a good experience when you're playing teams playing at a higher level, and you should surely benefit from it.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And they take a lot of lessons from that game. No team in the Premier Division would want to play Doolan's Co. They're a very, very good outfit. They won the Business League last year, or last season. So, and another good, it was a good experience for Castleack, and I don't think they'll take too much notice of it, to be honest with you. Their main focus is getting into the top 6 of the Championship in the West Cork League and pushing a playoff position. So they'll drive on, no fear, Castleack.
But thankfully we end our FAI Junior Cup. The Munster Junior Cup was the Kilbrittain Rovers 5-0. I should clarify that. That was a Munster Junior Cup game. The 2 games between Doolan's Co and Castleack was an FAI Junior Cup second round tie. But we ended on a good news story with Dunmanway Town travelling to Father O'Driscoll Park, a place I know quite well from the West Cork Masters League, because Clodagh Celtic have been competing in the West Cork Masters over the last number of summers. But Dunmanway took on their first team and registered a fantastic 3-1 win.
Yeah, champions of the West Cork League, flying the flag for West Cork League. It was a good win, but it was a win that I think Dunmanway expected to win it. Clodagh in League 2, the UL, I think, is played 6 and they've lost 6, so their form isn't great. So they were playing the champions of the West Cork League, so it was going to be a tough one for Clodagh. So good win for John Buckley's side, and they'll march on, and it was a great game for them as well, because they'll be back in action again in the league. So good win for Dunmanway Town, and good win for the West Cork League in the FAI Junior Cup.
Indeed, so that completes the roundup. So now it's time to take a look ahead to what's coming up over the next week in the West Cork League, and we start on Wednesday night, October the 2nd. PremierHighSpecCars.com Premier Division fixture, and quite an intriguing one. Lyre Rovers taking on Ballyhob under floodlights in Knockshka. Mike, a tough one for Lyre Rovers considering how well Ballyhob played last weekend. How do you see this one going?
It'll be a tough game for Lyre. Ballyhob now are motoring well at the moment, especially beating Doris 5-1 in a local derby. They'll be looking forward to the Lyre game. A quick turnaround from Sunday. Hopefully the legs will be okay for the lads in Ballyhob, but it'll be, it all depends. If this rain continues to fall, I don't know what way it'll be in Lyre. But look, it's a massive game. If Lyre win, they'll go up the table. If Ballyhob win, they'll still be putting the pressure on Drina Rangers, because they'll have them on Sunday again. So yeah, it'll be a tough game. It'll be a tough game for both. But I'd expect Ballyhob win there.
Yeah, and you're right to allude to that, because the following Sunday, Ballyhob are home advantage for the visit of Drina Rangers. Now that could be a real top of the table clash. How do you see that one going? Yeah,
that's that's going to be an interesting game, but it'll depend on how Ballyhob get on with Lyre. I think if Lyre pull a result in Ballyhob and wins, the heads might be a small bit down with the Hob lads, and it might affect the game on Sunday. But regardless of that, Ballyhob always up their game for Drina Rangers. I know for a fact Drina doesn't like coming to Ballyhob to play us, but after the win against Clantown, Drina will be very confident of beating Ballyhob. They're confident of beating anyone on their day anyway, so that's going to be a cracker in Ballyhob. And to be honest with you, I don't know what way it'll go. I wouldn't be one bit surprised if Ballyhob did beat him in Ratchervan as we did last season, but it'll be a very close game, John.
Indeed, it will. Very magnanimous of you there to call it a draw, to give it to one each side. The other Premier HighSpecCars.com Premier Division game next weekend is a hugely important one for both clubs. Doris hosting Clonakilty Town. Clonakilty Town, both clubs coming off disappointing losses. I fancy Clonakilty Town in that one. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, it's a tough one to call. Both teams got heavily defeated this week. Doris getting beaten well by Ballyhob and Clontown by Drina. So both teams will be going out with something to prove, They need the 3 points. I don't think Doris can afford to lose this game. Losing to Dunmanway and Ballyhob, they don't want a 3 in a row here. Clontown, they always find it tough playing in Doris Community Field. So if I was a betting man, I would say Clontown, but I wouldn't be surprised if Doris pulled one here either, because Doris are very big. Doris have very big players around the middle, and they'll match Clonakilty's players around the middle as well. So it'll be an interesting one, but I'd say Clonakilty Town will shade it.
Yeah, some cracking games next weekend. Let's just do a quick check in the times for those. On Wednesday, the 2nd of October, Lyre Rovers and Ballyhob kicks off at 7:30 in Knockshka. On Sunday, October the 6th, the 2 Premier HighSpecCars.com Premier Division matches, Ballyhob at home to Drina Rangers and Doris at home to Clonakilty Town, are both kicking off at 11 a.m. Into the O'Brien Water Services Championship, and a quick rundown on the kick-off times for all the matches that are currently scheduled for this weekend on Sunday, the 6th of October. Castleack welcome Baltimore to Laura at 11 o'clock. Castletown Celtic take on Kilbritton Rovers FC at 11 a.m. in Castletown Kenna. Cannon Crawley Park is the venue for Drina Rangers B and Mizzen with a noon kick-off. Carberry Park will host Riverside Athletic and Ulta Celtic at 2:30. The Baltimore Road will be the venue for Skibbereen and Dunmanway Town B, also at 2:30. And the last of those games, and probably the standout fixture, Mike, Salan taking on the league leader Spartak Musgrove in Ballivurny at 2:30. That to me is the big game of the weekend, and I can't separate those two.
Yeah, it's a big game. It'd be a bold statement to say that Salan could pull one over Spartak here, but Spartak Musgrove are very strong. They're after a 4-0 win over Kilbritton. It's a different ball game now going up to Salan. Salan have proven to be a tough team at home. I'd say Spartak will win it, but it'll be very tough for him. Now it's going to be very interesting there, because you see, if that ends up as a draw, or if Salan won, you have Dunmanway Town B away to Skibbereen, and if Dunmanway Town B win, they're back in the mix again, So it's an interesting one next weekend.
It's getting tight at the top, and it's going to be a lot of jostling for those top 6 positions, and I think we're looking at possibly going to the last weekend of the season the way things are going at the moment, with so many goals flying in. Just one other fixture to mention this coming weekend. On Sunday the 6th of October, the Keen's Jewellers Munster Champions League. The opening round of that competition sees Dunmanway Town travelling to Roscrea to take on Killavilla United. So for the second weekend in a row, Mike, Dunmanway Town are not in league action. They're in a different competition here now in the Munster Champions League Cup. Again, you'd be hoping they'd fly the flag for the West Cork League and to come away with a victory.
Yeah, and I'm sure they will as well. Champions of the West Cork League after a good win over Cludov, in the FAI Junior Cup. They'll travel away up to Killavilla, and they'll be confident. They've nothing to lose, so I wouldn't be surprised if they pull a result here. But all the very best luck to Dunmanway. They're representing us in a lot of competitions this year, so fair play to them, and best luck to them.
Yes, indeed. Best of luck to them and to everybody taking part next weekend. Hopefully the weather will hold and we'll get as many games played as possible. That's about it from us for this week. Just a reminder that if you want to follow what's happening in the West Cork League, you can do so any day on your computer, on your smart device, on westcorkleague.com. The West Cork League Facebook page is on facebook.com/West Cork League, and you can find the West Cork League on Twitter at twitter.com/West Cork League. If you like what you're listening to in the podcast, please hit the subscribe button underneath. We're delighted with the followers and the number of listens that we're getting week on week. It's increasing with each week. We enjoy all feedback, good, bad and indifferent, but we'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe on the YouTube channel. If you go to youtube.com and search for West Cork League, you'll find the podcast there. Another hectic week, loads of goals gone in, Mike, and probably more to come this coming weekend. Thanks for your time, and we'll talk to you again next week, Mike.
Thanks very much.
See you all again next week. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.